Welcome everybody to a very special Tuesday talk where we are gonna have the incredible, unique, exclusive experience of interviewing Her Excellency, the Ambassador of the Philippines, Miss Hellen de la Vega. Thank you for joining us, dear Ambassador. We are so honored to be here because you are a leader, a girl boss, so kind, so powerful, always creating an impact. So thank you for making these 30 minutes to spend with us. So I'm gonna pass on straight to you. We wanna know about your journey. Where did you start and what were the most significant steps along the journey for you to have such an important role in our global economy?
Okay, thank you very much, Paula, and to all our dear participants, or shall we say, the entrepreneurs from the Academy of Entrepreneurs. Good evening from Canberra, or good afternoon, or wherever you may be. Good morning. And I want to go straight to first, thank you so much for those compliments. And, I don't even know if I really deserve them all, but my background is, I come from a big family. I'm the eldest from a brood of 8 children. And maybe for some of you that might come as a surprise, but in my generation before, we usually have really big families. So I'm the eldest in the family. My father was working very hard as a civil engineer, and my mother was a school teacher. Now my mother passed away, 5 years ago, but in other words, what I'm trying to say here is that it's a family, and we were brought out. Our breeding is that to live as, like a survivor, And when I started my career in the Department of Foreign Affairs, I was a casual employee. My salary then was 25 pesos a day. In today's foreign exchange rate, 25 pesos is like 50 cents a day. And so, I took up my bachelor's degree course. I specialized in Asian studies, and then after that, I took some scholarships, and I was also a student here in Australia, not a real student in the same, the way you understand it, but like a training from under the auspices of the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. So it's like a full circle for me coming back here now as ambassador. And in the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, the normal route actually to become an ambassador will take you 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, and then you become an ambassador. So I took my examinations in 1988. That's when I made the decision to make a career out of diplomacy. And I worked steadily to reach the position where I am in now after 20 years. And what you asked me, what is the biggest achievement of my career? I can cite actually 3. One is my first assignment as ambassador to the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, formerly Burma. And this was at the height of the tail end of Cyclone Nargis, where the people were trying to recover from the cyclone that hit the country. And it was also at the same time when Aung San Suu Kyi was under house arrest. She was released from house arrest. She ran for elections. She won in the elections and became state councillor at the Parliament of Myanmar. So it really also pains me personally to see that she's back in, after a decade or so, she's now again back in house arrest. And usually the first posting, my first posting as ambassador is really something that I remember fondly, because the one part, or shall I say the factor that strengthens the relationship between Philippines and Myanmar. I'm a Catholic, and I just wanted to say this piece that there's a 1% strength of the Catholic faith between the Philippines and Myanmar. And that was a strong bond for me that helped me, for instance, on the outside of my work, I was helping little girls, learn the rosary in one of the few Catholic churches in Yangon at the time, which was the capital of Myanmar, of Burma, sorry, Rangoon or Yangon. Then later on, the capital was transferred to Naypyidaw. The second one was my assignment as Assistant Secretary for ASEAN, where again, I don't know if it was a coincidence or of some sort that I became the Assistant Secretary for ASEAN, coinciding with the 50 years of ASEAN. And it coincided with the rotational chairmanship of the Philippines as chairman. So it was very important for us as a country, and I was responsible for the substantive preparations, shall we say, shepherding the ASEAN group of nations. So that's the 10 countries of ASEAN, and bringing out the themes and priorities for that year in the year 2017. And finally, the third is where I am now as Philippine ambassador to Australia, which I referred to earlier as I find it like a full circle for me, coming here as a young student many decades ago. I think before many of you were born and I'm now here in Australia as the Philippine ambassador. Again, another milestone because it's I'm on my third year here, and it's under my watch that we are celebrating the 75 years of Philippine-Australia diplomatic relations. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you to Ambassador. And Ambassador, when did you realize that it was your life purpose to become a global leader? Because it's not easy making that choice, especially as a woman. It comes with extra challenges. We have to prove ourselves a little bit harder. When was there a moment that you just went, this is it? Because what I see, I work with students that are inspiring leaders, and it's hard to stay focused. Like there's challenges. I mean, every day there's challenges. So what was the moment that was like that moment that you just went, this is for me, that every time there was a hard moment, you would remember that feeling or a promise you'd made to yourself or to someone? What made you become the ambassador? Because you have one of the most important roles in the world.
Well, I don't know if people will relate to me, but if you believe in destiny, then I think this is my destiny. Why do I say that? Because as a young girl, I never liked traveling. I'm a very domesticated person. But after graduation, when I took up, I was about to enroll in journalism, but the class for journalism was full. And by the way, I took up my studies at the University of Santo Tomas. That was the oldest university in Asia. Actually, it's older than Harvard University. And specializing in Asian studies, then I because of the classes in journalism, I said, okay, what's the first available course? And I saw Asian studies. So I enrolled in Asian studies, and I just studied very hard. I mean, I was just steadfast and determined to really get a quick job because I come from a family of 8. I want to help in the family. I think that's a normal feeling of many people. And then I obtained high grades by working hard and studying hard, and I graduated with honors in the University of Santo Tomas. And then after that, took up, work at the Department of Foreign Affairs. And it's so funny because in the beginning, I had a very simple ambition. I just wanted, with my background as Asian studies, I just wanted to be a cultural coordinator. So I went to the Philippine Department of Tourism. And then when they saw my grades, they said, the people in the Department of Tourism told me, we think you're in the wrong agency. We'd like to refer you to the Department of Foreign Affairs because of your background. So when I got to the DFA, it took me again another I think, another 4 years or so before I made that decision to take the Foreign Service examinations and make a career, again in 1988, to make a career out of diplomacy or the Foreign Service. And so that was my story. So what I think, so this the specific reply to your question is, I think it's destiny. But I think the other thing that I'd like to share with the group is that when you say what has brought me to where I am, and I'd like to share 3 guideposts, if I may, and I hope that I mean, this has been useful to me, and I've shared this with the members of my staff, my friends, and my family knows this. Some are rooted from, something like a faith-based thing. And number one is that, one, there is a time and place for everything under the heavens. That's Ecclesiastes. By that, I mean, it can apply, it's timeless. It can apply to anything, any incident, any scenario that you can think of. And in my case, what I just wanted to say is that if, for instance, I don't easily get, or your aspiration or your ambition, you did not get it the way you wanted it, just embrace it, because there will be a time and place for it. So just embrace it. So if I have challenges, if I have trials, and in the kind of work that I have here, I mean, every day, just like many of you, we have challenges. So we must have the long-term view. Don't lose sight of the long-term view. And I've heard this said by President Barack Obama himself when he was doing his, discussions with some interns in the White House too. He said that don't get out of the long-term view, which is like there will be upsets, challenges day to day, but keep your dream alive. Don't miss the real reason or the long view on why you are here. In other words, your purpose. So just keep on embracing these challenges, because there's a time and place for everything. Your reward will come at the right time. The second is that you should be responsible. We should be responsible for the consequences of our action. In today's world, many people, why there's so much conflict in today's world is because we try to find, to transfer the accountability to other persons, when in fact, you are in control of what you can make or what you can decide on. So let's not talk of others. Let's talk about ourselves. Let's talk of what we can bring to the table. And that way, it can even help improve yourself, because you're not focusing. You must accept the reality that you cannot please all the people in the world. And the only way to be authentic is to be true to yourself. And how can we be true to ourselves? Is to understand your values. I mean, what makes you as Helen? What makes you as Paula? What makes you as Chris? Then you will find your unique contribution to society, to your family, to the world in which you find yourself in. So, so as I said, yes, the second one is, to be responsible for the consequences of your action. And finally, the third one, and there is really a hype on spirituality on this, that it is against natural law that you do something good and you reap something bad in return. I mean, but this is, I said spiritual, because first you have to have faith. You have to have faith that there is a bigger power that looks at the good things that you're doing. If you don't have any mental reservation of what you're doing and you just want make a positive contribution to make a better world, you don't have to fear anything. You don't have to, how do you say this? Yeah, you can be brave, you can be courageous, you can be fearless, because you just wanted to bring something good for the world, for the society, for the country. So I think these are the 3 guideposts that have helped me a lot in my life. And to this day, I still carry it with me. So I think, I'm sorry I spoke so much, but these are the things that I wanted to share. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you for sharing. And dear Ambassador, how do you find out what your values are? Because I think I'm very lucky that, similar to you, I knew what my life purpose was at an early stage. I would never give up on it, and I do everything with the best of intentions. And if I ever make a mistake or I don't get what I want, I know that there's a reason behind it and I will get there eventually. But do you have any tips around the whole like self-awareness and finding your life purpose and identifying what your values are? Is there any technique like journaling or learning, or is there a personality test? Is there anywhere, even like, I mean, spiritually, I mean, we can talk, I mean, for those of us that are religious, you can talk to God and ask and have the conversation, but do you have any recommendations in that sense on how do you find, because one thing that I've seen over the last 18 months, I get asked on a daily basis from friends or followers on Instagram, TikTok, going, Paula, can you help me find my life purpose? And I've got my own little techniques, but I'm sure that we can learn a lot from yours. Yours will be even better.
I don't know about that, because as I said, I really think that each person is unique. And I think the bottom line of what I do, and I don't know if maybe this will be useful for the others, is reflection. To reflect daily on what you've done during the day. You wake up in the morning, you have things to do in your mind. But there are 2 levels here. The physical one, which is the material world, if I may call it that way, and the one is the spiritual. In my case, I've always intended every day of my life that the end mission for the day will have to be something spiritual. And by spiritual, what I meant is that everything that I will do today should be serving a higher good. And that would mean helping somebody. That's it, just helping somebody. Whether through a phone call, whether through writing letters, whether making a referral, whether through making this webinar. I mean, I'm trying to bring it down to a very daily or very material, shall we say, example, but a reflection. Because only by reflecting on yourself, on what you've done the day, is you can understand what are your limits, your threshold as a person. I'm not so sure if I'm making myself clear, but understanding your limits, your boundaries, because self-esteem is important, integrity is important, but the way to be able to manifest those things is to have in yourself a respect for your own self as well. So this is important. I mean, the limits of what respect means to you, the limits of what integrity means to you. So I think that's what I wanted to say.
You've answered all of the questions, and I can see that we only have 10 more minutes with you. And I can see some very VIP friends of mine that I love to death joining us today. So I can see here that we've got, I'll just read out some of the names, but we've got Marcelino Aviles, the ex-ambassador of Panama. We also have Daniel Gaspari Rey, who is the head of the Embassy of Venezuela over in Canberra. I can also see that we've got Eliana, the beautiful and dear friend of ours, the Consul of Peru over here in Sydney. We've got Faisal, the Director of Partnerships for Academy of Entrepreneurs, who's also a huge fan of yours. We've got Carrie Phipps, an incredible international author that has flown with me to the Philippines to do volunteering work. I can also see Kevin and Sammy from PhilDeaf, which receives a lot of funding from the United Nations to create impact work in the Philippines. You were able to bring so many, and a lot of the alumni's girl bosses from Academy Spinners, and the one and only Christopher Alton. So team, everyone that's with us here today, thanks for joining. What questions do we have? So we've got 9 precious minutes with the ambassador. What questions do we have from her in a way that we can all learn and give back? And if I can ask you guys all for a favor, is we've learned a lot today. Pass on the message, because there's no better way to learn and create an impact than teaching others. So whatever is the message that touched the most your hearts and your little smart brain, share it with the world, because that's the best way to create an impact. So Mr. Daniel, Eliana, Kevin, Carrie, do we have any questions for the ambassador? Chris?
Yes, I had a very quick question. Firstly, very honored to meet you, Ambassador. It's been a while since I've been in Philippines, but back in the day, I was helping startups in 2015 come to Silicon Valley, and I was really entrenched in the entrepreneurship landscape. What is happening in Philippines today? Outsourcing is obviously huge. A lot of companies are outsourcing and developing in Philippines. What's the landscape like today? What opportunities can entrepreneurs in Australia leverage upon connecting to Philippines?
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you for focusing more on the Philippine-Australia, environment. Yes, we just launched earlier this year what we call Make It Happen in the Philippines, and this is already directed towards the economic recovery effort. And why am I saying about towards the economic recovery effort? Because we have already ramped up, the vaccination in the Philippines, and we are actually having some projects as well involving the Australia-Philippine Business Council. And if I may just say, for instance, Paula, that one way since it's our also 75th year of anniversary, one way of commemorating this event is maybe you would like to link up, and I can share with you a link up with the Australian Philippine Business Council, so that your entrepreneurs can have some linkages with the APBC and identify probably some startup projects if that's at all feasible. Now, in terms of the priorities that we're looking at, I must say that one of my biggest projects right now is really to correct the trade balance between Philippines and Australia, because Australia, through the years, through the decades, have always enjoyed a positive trade with the Philippines. And so we wanted to sort of correct this trade imbalance by, engaging, diversifying more trade and entry of more products, like issues related to market access, for instance, for Philippine agricultural products. But with regard to Chris' question on some of the areas, focus areas, you've mentioned about the IT, BPI, the information technology and outsourcing. That's really top of the list. And then we're looking at new areas like even aerospace and some new technology, shall we say STEM industries that we're looking at. And because of the COVID-19, of course, the health sector will be an important area for investment as well. So to make the long story short, I think that for startups like you, I think a very good project will be to link up, and I'm more than ready to, call our people from the Australian Philippine Business Council. The headquarters are based in Sydney, actually, and maybe you can come up with I can link both of you, and then you can have a webinar like this and maybe look at the possibilities for cooperation that would be of interest to the Academy of Entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an amazing opportunity. And we'll say yes, yes, yes to that opportunity. We will take it, right, Chris? Anything we can do to create further collaboration. And this is what I think the world needs to learn. Entrepreneurship, success, leadership is about collaboration. We will only create an impact if we all unite our forces for the right reasons in a collaborative way. So thank you, dear Ambassador. I can see there's some questions here. So there's a question from Mark saying, what do you consider the biggest legacy in your career? Very powerful question.
Legacy, thank you for that question. I'm actually not thinking of any legacy. I want to be remembered as somebody who just did her job, you know, properly and correctly. And I think the legacy comes as a gift to me, like the legacy, for instance, of being able to chair the 50 years of ASEAN. And that was really for me a wonderful accomplishment. Together with the team, I realized how much the blessing of working with real dedicated people as well. So I think one's legacy is not just for me, but it's really a totality of all the love, dedication, and passion brought to the table by so many people. And this is the wonderful gift of life. You have these people all working together, directed towards a particular mission. And in 2017, our mission is deliver a successful Philippine chairmanship of the 50 years of ASEAN. And I'd like to think that we did it. And by the grace of God, they even gave me an award. So thank you very much to the Philippine government for giving me an award for that. It's called the Order of Sikatuna Award, the highest award given to diplomats. The foreign diplomats are also given that award, by the way. Yes, if they've done a contribution.
Wow, thank you, dear Ambassador. And to finish it off,
I had a super quick question.
Yes, because I want to read Lucy's question. Yes, go for it.
Super quick question. I know we're in lockdown, so Ambassador, what's the first thing you'll do when you go back to Philippines?
Oh, of course, go and meet my family members and the church. I'd like to go and visit the church where most of my requests have been granted, and that's in Pangasinan. It's called Our Lady of Manawag.
Thank you. We will be visiting there as well. And to finish off, dear Ambassador, I had a question that I was thinking of asking, and I can see that Lucy is asking the same thing. So I think it's in the universe, it's in the stars that we need to ask you this question. What would be 3 to 5 of the most important qualities as a leader? So how do you become a leader, and what makes, because I love how authentic and real and how connected to the heart you are, but it's not easy because when we've been trained by the media to be strong as a leader, but the reality is that leaders connect from the heart. So what are the most important qualities that leaders need to have to be as amazing as you?
Well, for me, number 1 is integrity. Number 2 is authenticity. And number 3, belief. Well, I'm sorry, but I am a Catholic, so belief, we must have faith and belief in God. I think I just have to have that hope in a supreme being, in a higher authority that, I think that gives us the right positive energy, the right guidance that's deep in the soul of a person. Thank you.
Thank you. 100% agree. Thank you so much. We have just completed our 30 minutes with you. Honored. Thank you for every second and all the beautiful messages. We've learned so much. And let us know how we can give back to you. For your 30 minutes, we want to give you 300,000 billion minutes back. Whatever we can do to continue supporting the Filipino community here in Australia, in the Philippines, and all over the world. Because everywhere I go, I meet amazing Filipinos. So whatever we can do to give back, you can forever count on us. Thank you so much, dear Ambassador.
Thank you, Paula. And I'll take your offer. I think I'd like to link up the Academy of Entrepreneurs with the peak body here in Australia of the Filipino community. It's called the Filipino Community Council in Australia, and it's led by a dynamic entrepreneur just like you, Paula. And she is an entrepreneur in a social, focus on social enterprises. And her name is Carmen Garcia. And if it would interest the group, then I can link up your group because she's also an entrepreneur. She is based in South Australia. So the president of this peak body in the entire Australia of the Filipino Community Council is based in South Australia, not in Sydney and not in Melbourne, but in South Australia. Okay.
But we're all connected these days, and especially
exactly.
now, we're all connected.
Exactly.
No matter where anyone's located. When people tell me like the lockdown, I think we need to see it as a positive time that we can connect in a time like this. Like how easy would it have been for all of us to go to Canberra today? Very hard. And for us to have these 30 priceless minutes with you connected online. Thank you, dear Ambassador. Big hugs, lots of love from Australia. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me. Thank you for having
being with us. Big hugs and have a beautiful evening. Thank you for everybody that joined. And thanks for all of the questions as well. I have a read through them and then I can connect you to the ambassador afterwards. Big hugs, guys. Lots of love. Thank you, dear ambassador. Thank you. Bye.